Hey guys, welcome to the Nick Bahe YouTube page. You know what you need to do. You need to subscribe, you need to ring the bell, you need to like the page, you need to leave a comment. I appreciate you. We're here. We're here. You're here, I'm here. Nick Bahe, Bo Ruud. Game recap brought to you by Onyx Automotive. Shouts out to Onyx Automotive. They're the best of Omaha. #1 luxury car dealer. They're offering industry-leading brands. BMW, Jaguar, Land Rover. They got all the good stuff there. Great location, 150th and Dodge. Go check them out or check them out online, onyxautomotive.com. Drive Onyx, the new standard. Make sure you go support Onyx Automotive. And this pod's brought to you by Shoot 360 Lincoln. You should check out, as we're taping this, it's Sunday, November 19th. Great story in the Lincoln Journal-Star on Shoot 360 Lincoln. My guy, Chris Basnett, brought him to the facility, gave him the tour, had him meet some of the members. It was fantastic. Good photos in there, really good write-up. Urge everybody to go check it out. It's the world's most advanced basketball training facility. We're building something special there. 3rd and 4th grade rookies to college-level pros. Doesn't matter where your game's at. We'll meet you where your skill level is at, and we will get you better faster with our patented and proprietary technology. You can become a member at Shoot 360 Lincoln at shoot360.com/Lincoln. Fill out that official recruiting visit form, and you will get your free 1-hour workout. Bo Ruud, how are you today?
Good.
You're good? You're doing. You know, I did enjoy. I thought Todd Blackledge, I thought the TV broadcast was good last night. Like, I enjoyed Todd Blackledge.
Blackledge was specifically good.
I was like, he's doing a really good job today.
Yeah, he seemed to kind of know what was going on.
Yes, I was loving him. Okay, so
maybe that's because, I don't know if you noticed, like the last 3 or 4 games, there's been some of the worst.
It's been a little shaky. It's been a little shaky. I'm not gonna lie.
Like, I remember one of the guys said something like, Bryce Benhart, he really represents what the black shirts are all about.
Yes, I know. It was like,
but he's on offense. And I was like, you don't know anything about Nebraska.
He did. I totally forgot about that.
It's like one of those statements that when announcers say things like that, I'm like, oh, you barely did your homework.
Yeah, an offensive like that. That's a pretty like.
You really don't
black
understand.
Shirt, yeah, like
you really do. You're talking about things you don't understand.
Yes, that's pretty bad.
Yeah,
an offensive lineman black shirt thing, like that's bad.
Yeah, if you're gonna make a specific analogy, like you better understand a little bit about the team.
Yeah, I think that was the Peacock broadcast. I'm pretty sure that was that was pretty bad.
Specifically bad.
So where do you want to start, man? I mean, Nebraska loses in overtime 24-17. I mean, of course, I got a bunch of texts and tweets at the beginning of the game just simply saying Chubba chatter.
I got some Chubba chatter.
I got
as well.
tons of Chubba chatter. I don't know. Again, what's crazy is we could do what we did last week and go right to the end of the game and talk about some of the management on that final drive. But I almost think we got to begin with Chubba.
We got to start. The game was surprise. It was a surprising game.
So I called Creighton, Texas Southern last night on Fox. Call that game, rush home. I had the game recorded. I watch it. And as I'm watching, I avoided spoilers, so I was super excited about it. I mean, I was almost laughing in joy and chuckling to myself with the first 2 drives of the game. With Chubba.
Almost like you couldn't believe it, right?
It was like you were waiting for Ashton Kutcher to come out and be like, you're unpunked. Like, this isn't real. You think this game's real and you think Chubba Purdy's a real player?
Yeah.
Like, what? First of all, so, first drive, there's just something to, he looked way better than he ever looked last year.
Yeah.
He looked comfortable. He looked poised. He looked fast. I mean, his touchdown run.
I told you last week, he looked fast to me. Like he looked like he had some juice.
I mean, he ran away. I mean, you've played on those fields, but like
he burst through that defense. Like the defense, like, if you're slow, they get you there. Like,
yes,
he split the defense and just like ran away from people.
He just pulled away from people in a power conference football game. Like, that's really hard to do.
Yeah,
for 50 yards. But with Chubba, I thought that was the best quarterbacking of the season. Would you agree,
Nick? I wrote down in my notes that is the best quarterback a quarterback has looked this season by far.
But yeah, like I didn't even think it was close. Yeah. Like as I wrote that, I was like, is this too much hyperbole? No, like it's the best running. Crazy enough, like that was the best running I've seen in terms of scrambling, elusiveness.
Yep.
Option, like some of his, like the feel on
the decision making was better. I also felt like the offense was was executed better. So we had a couple, that doesn't mean it's perfect. We had some delay games. Like he was always slow getting, like we were down the play clock
a lot.
So he's a little slow getting, maybe getting from the play getting called into breaking the huddle to when it's time to make, like we were pushing that 3-4 seconds left when he like
a lot. Yes.
So that was maybe the downside, but really there was no hiccups with, messed up plays or drop snaps and he, even all those little bubble screens to Billy Kemp.
Yeah.
Like some of them worked, some of them didn't, but he was quick on time. Like those are the kind of plays you just can't ever mess up. And we always seem to, and like, he just was delivering those.
Well, I think one of the things we were talking about with Harburg a couple of weeks ago, I think it was after the Michigan State game, you were pointing out, like, I'm just not sure if I see the natural feel stuff from him, And I thought in like 2 series, you saw what like a guy that naturally is in command, ball's coming out, it's accurate, he knows where he's trying to go with the ball, he's making good, quick decisions. Like that's the kind of stuff that you want to see. Yeah. And yeah, I wrote offense ran the smoothest it's ran all year, which is basically the same thing and he didn't turn it over until the final play.
Yeah, and we can talk about that one.
And then we can talk about, and that one's like, you're just,
that's not a bad turnover.
So basically, to me, it's like he had a turnover-free game, and I just thought it was the best quarterbacking performance of the season for Nebraska.
And I guess I am surprised. I didn't see that coming. Like he looked pretty good in that one drive, but I didn't think necessarily like, and it's only going to get better from here. Folks.
I know.
Like I was kind of waiting for, is Chubba going to now regress to some of the things we saw? And Chubba went to another place, kind of. He went to the, like, this is the Chubba that maybe
was highly rated coming out of high school.
And Whipple was like, this is my guy,
yes.
A Florida State recruit.
Yeah.
This is the type of Chubba maybe that, like, maybe that's been in there and I don't know what's been going on that it hasn't come out in a game yet, but
yeah. Cause like last year, I mean, he struggled when he was out there last year, and his feel was bad. That's what was so weird about like his feel. He would
ditch the
bail
pocket,
on the pocket all the second it would get a little dicey in there. But even in he got in at the what was it, the game that got delayed? Was it Louisiana Tech that got delayed? And then he came in at the end of that game. He didn't necessarily look great in that sequence. Didn't look bad, but he didn't look great. It just was like, it was jarring. I was out loud, like almost laughing and smiling at, like, what is this?
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at this guy.
Well, and then, I mean, then the second, so that's the first drive, but then the second drive,
he hits Lloyd.
Yeah. So they run the throwback and we get stoned. I'm like, okay, here we go. And then the next play, he drops a dime to Lloyd, who then, takes a shot and takes it, 70 yards or what? How far was that?
Yeah. Because the trick play, he had he had the option. He had a fake pitch for an 8 or 9 yard run. He had a swing pass to Kemp for 5 yards. He had an out that was incomplete to Malachi Coleman. Another swing pass to Kemp for a first down. They try that trick play. It gets blown up. And then you get the long touchdown pass that was a perfect ball.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there going, like, this team was having a hard time getting to 13 points for the whole game. And all of a sudden, their first 2 drives, they go touchdown. And I mean, it's mind blowing. And then to take it a step further, Nebraska comes out on their next possession and they're marching it down the field again.
Yeah.
And they get down to 4th and 2 at the 33. And I thought in the moment it was probably the right move to go for it. I don't know.
Okay. And this is one that's a good one to talk about because because that's what I always try to do this. Like when I'm watching a game and it's in the moment, I go, okay. I literally always stop myself and I go, is this the right call to do this? Like, how do you feel? Think it through. And then I like to be honest about that. Then however it goes.
Would you have kicked it, or would you?
It was at the 33.
I thought it was at the 33. I'll double. I'm like 99% sure that they were at the 33-yard line.
I think because that puts that at a 50-yard field goal, which is. Yeah, we had so I think we had so much momentum going that I'm not mad about it. It's just, when the game ends up being close, you go back and you think, man,
fourth and 1 at the Wisconsin 33 with 10:24 left in the second quarter.
And if it's 1 versus 2 yards, I actually think that
fourth
makes
and 1. It wasn't fourth and 2.
I think
fourth
and 1 makes a bigger difference. It's 4th and 2. I'm more leaning towards kicking it, but 4th and 1.
So you wanted to go, or you wanted to? Did you want to kick it, or did you want to?
I was okay with them doing it. I wasn't like adamantly against it. So I don't know that I was like, we got to go for it. I'm not. I would have been fine kind of with either, because it was right in the no man's land of field goal. Like, I don't know. I think what's hard is if you can look back and say you absolutely should have kicked it. I don't think you could. I
could go either way on that. I don't want to be disingenuous and be like, what the heck? You have to go for it there, or you have to kick it there. Yeah. I don't know. I see that both ways.
Yeah, I think, and we'll talk about the other, in the game time management, but those are the two that you think about, the decisions and taking the points versus, being aggressive and going for it. Like right there, like in that moment, we were aggressive versus take the points. And later it was kind of the opposite.
The other way around.
Right? So I don't know that that's wrong though. I think that's okay. We were rolling. Like they kind of saw like, can we put this game away right here? And that, I think when you have a 14-point cushion, I feel a little bit better about being aggressive then.
Yeah.
With this team. With this team, I feel like that's not a bad time to be aggressive. So it's not the end of the world that they didn't get it.
I'm not going to die on the hill of like terrible decision there.
It's a coin flip decision at that point. So I think that's where I'm better with them being aggressive there than at other times.
It's just crazy. They go, 6 plays, 75 yards, touchdown, 6 plays, 76 yards, touchdown. Then they go 12 plays, 55 yards, and then they go for it on 4th and 1 and get stopped. So, I mean, they had moved the ball very well in the first 3 drives. But from that moment on, from when Wisconsin stopped Nebraska, the game flipped.
It really did. And that's the downside to going for it on the 4th versus even kicking a field goal and missing it.
Yeah.
The momentum changes more on a 4th down stop than a field goal miss.
Isn't that weird how real momentum is, where the result is the same? You get the ball at that spot, you take over, no points. But there's something about stopping somebody as they're going for it versus them missing a field goal that the whole vibe shifts. And then because Wisconsin then proceeded to march down the field, they kind of started going a little tempo on Nebraska.
I do think the tempo hurt us. Like our D linemen did not handle the tempo very well.
No. And I don't know, what do you attribute?
I saw like,
do you think that's like the rotating thing got harder? Like,
yes, it gets harder to rotate if they're going tempo. And guys like Hutmasher, like he's really good in certain situations. Tempo is his enemy. He's just so big, right?
Yeah.
And his being loud. So like I saw the more they did tempo was the few plays you'd see him like get like, tripped up and he just is like laying there and you're like, okay, like you're 330 pounds. Like that's part of what happens when you're 330.
Yeah.
Tempo's not your friend.
No. But yeah, because they score 17 unanswered points then. And but here's what's interesting though, just because even we're talking up Chubba and we're talking up those first 2 drives in particular. But it's interesting to think, so the Nebraska's first 2 drives, they have 151 total yards and 14 points. The next 9 drives, they get 136 total yards and 3 points. Yeah. Now, again, keep in mind, 55 of those 136 yards are on that their 3rd drive that went all the way down to the 33 and they get stopped.
Yeah.
So things flipped. So, I mean, their drives let me just read the drive. So 6 plays, touchdown, 6 plays, touchdown, 12 plays, 55 yards, turnover on downs, then 4 plays, punt. Then they have the drive at the end of the half, which, by the way, very lucky that they got 1 second. Yeah. Like, you would think a road clock operator would be like, and we're not going to whoopsies halftime.
Chubba held that ball way
Yes. So they were lucky that Alvano even got a kick off there and he missed it. But then in the second half, they go.
That's a big kick, though.
Yeah.
That's a big kick.
A big miss. Yeah. That's what you're saying. Like a big. Yeah. Yes. That's a huge miss. It's a huge.
This team they don't have enough room for error.
Right.
To miss like very makeable field goals.
Agree.
You know, like they just don't like they finally got a performance out of their offense. It was like, God, that's like a B+ performance out of this offense.
Yeah.
You know, like decent. Didn't turn it over, had some couple explosive plays. They didn't own the whole game, but they at least like they got you a lead.
Right.
They got you a lead.
Got you a 14-0 lead.
They got you a lead in the first half, and you know that's supposed to be the recipe. Like if you can get this team a lead, run the ball, grind it out, let the defense win it, and you know, and special teams need to do their job. And I feel like
didn't. It was
teams kind of.
It was only a 42-yard field goal at the end of the half.
Yeah, I mean,
like
I think those are the ones we got to make, especially like going into half. It's a big momentum type of play there. Those kind of plays, you know, the field position stuff, like when your offense finally gives you a performance that you can win off of,
right?
A no turnover performance, essentially, like the rest of the team's gotta find it.
Yeah, for the first time. Yeah, you're right. It was usually the defense having to completely clean up the offense's mess and special teams having to make some plays, but this special teams was bad, and the defense had some moments where they weren't as dominant as they had been. So missed a 42-yard field goal. Then to start then in the second half, Nebraska's offense, they go 3-and-out punt, 3-and-out punt, 7 plays, 16 yards punt, 3-and-out punt. And then they have the final drive of the game where they go 9 plays, they drive it all the way down and kick the field goal to tie the game. And then overtime, they have 4 plays, -6 yards, and that's the end of the game.
Yeah.
So what do we? I mean, we're sitting there saying like, I agree. Like everything's a sliding scale relative to what this offense is capable of. Obviously, if we're talking about like Oregon or Washington's offense, Nebraska's performance offensively is an F. But for what Nebraska's capable of, that's like your third string quarterback, all those injuries, you're on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a B.
That's a B. It's a B because it's a third string quarterback. It's our third string quarterback, and we got freshmen at every skill position. A couple of our starting linemen are out. You know, I think we've had so many turnovers this year, like a turnover catastrophe year.
Yeah, leading the nation in turnovers.
Yeah, that we looked a little bit crisper. We ran the offense. We didn't turn it over, and we gave our team a lead at halftime. Like that's a B to me. Like that's like a good performance from this offense right now.
Right.
What this offense has been, which has been atrocious, which has been a game-losing offense. It's a little bit like we're judging this performance as a team based off of like, well, this is where we've been, and we're like, and so we judge that off of that.
Do you want to get to the late game management stuff, and then we'll kind of talk about some other things?
Yeah.
Because we just brought up, you know, they have the 9-play drive to the field goal to tie the game at 17.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, and again, this is where I was so glad that I didn't get spoiled by the outcome, and I knew I was sitting there and in the moment, like saying things to myself, thinking things, writing things down. I don't know where you were at. The lack of urgency and the how Matt Rhule managed the end of the game there with timeouts was just, I can't even begin to really feel like I understand. Do you want me to lay out the scenario here?
Yeah, lay it out.
So 2nd and 11 with 1:46 left. You have the great 22-yard run by Chubba Purdy where he outruns that linebacker. He's trying to take an angle. Again, I mean, this is like fucking power conference linebacker.
One of their best players too. And he beat him to the corner.
And Chubba beat his ass to the sideline and got 22 yards and gets all the way down to the Wisconsin 26-yard line. At that point, Nebraska's got all 3 timeouts.
Yeah.
And they're at the 26-yard line. Wisconsin actually had to call a timeout at that point. They didn't like a look or whatever. They felt like they had to regroup. So Nebraska has the ball at the 26 with 1:35 left with all 3 timeouts.
Yes.
1st and 10. They run Emmett Johnson up the middle for a 7-yard gate. Matt Rhule doesn't call timeout there.
Yeah.
And he lets the clock run all the way down to about 51 seconds before running the next play. The next play is that little like short toss sweep to Emmett Johnson for a 1-yard gain. This is where you're like, what is happening? That play ended with about 46 seconds on the game clock.
Yeah.
Matt Rhule doesn't call timeout. Instead, he lets the clock tick, 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 all the way down to 20 seconds on the clock. And then he calls timeout.
Yep.
So you let about 24, 25, 26 seconds of game clock just run. Not to mention the little bit that you could have called timeout after first down if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And so then it's 3rd and 2. They run the Chubba quarterback keeper around the right side. He gets 6 yards, picks up a first down all the way down at the 12-yard line. And Nebraska calls their second timeout.
Yep.
So it's 1st and 10 at the 12-yard line with 13 seconds left, and you have 1 timeout. And now at that point, you're in that no man's land.
Yeah.
Where, and I think even Blackledge was saying, it's like, I mean, you might now get 1 shot at the end zone. And of course, that's what they do. Chubba takes a shot. I mean, basically, it was kind of like, I'm taking a shot, but I'm really throwing it to the.
That ball went out of the end zone. Like
way out of the end zone.
And Matt Rhule said probably that is his option, is like it needs to be caught going out of the end zone or it's out of the end zone.
Right. And so now there's 7 seconds left after that incomplete pass. Now you have to kick the field goal. You cannot leave it up for chance, probably, of like.
Nick, I think when they got down, when Chubba made that run, I think Matt Rhule, and I understand this, like, what was last week?
Yeah.
Last week was, and we spent an entire podcast talking about quarterbacks got to earn the right to take the chance and, to risk it, or you take the sure points. And now it's a little different because there was a tie game then, right? Versus not, and there was more time. But Matt Rhule had last week in his head.
Had to have.
No doubt about it. And so this is what's hard. It's like you can say you can't not think about last week because it was Chubba and he threw an interception. Like
right.
It's in your head, right? So yeah, I think it's tough because he's also saying, I don't want any time on the clock because we're going to be kicking this field goal. That's what he's thinking, Nick.
Yeah.
He's not thinking, let's go score. He was thinking, let's go score in the first half when they went for it on 4th and 2. And
he was thinking to go score at the end of that Maryland game.
Yep. And then at this moment, Nick, you could just tell as soon as when Chubba got that first down with, what was it? A
minute 35, I think is what it was.
And they didn't hustle and they didn't start thinking about timeouts. When they let it all run, Matt Rhule had decided, I'm going to take my 3 and get to overtime. I think he was like, already decided. I'm not going to I will not throw a pick here is what he said.
Which is a couple of things with that. First of all, well, I thought Captain Bug Eater on Twitter, which anybody named Captain Bug Eater has to be willing to drop knowledge, but I thought he actually put it well on Twitter.
Okay.
With the late game management. He said it's not that he played for the tie that's dumb. It's that he took forever to use his timeouts, limiting his opportunities to either win or tie from a closer spot.
That's right. And
I think that's perfectly stated from Captain Buggy.
I think Matt Rhule was his mistake was that the opportunity that, like, hey, a couple of our runs go well and we get down inside the 10.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be a throw to the end zone.
Yeah, we have more chances than to keep, like, just running the ball or doing very, very safe things. And so I think we can't overlook last week because we saw what happened last week. We spent a whole podcast talking about you can't risk it, right? So we had the points we felt like, but Matt Rhule, he just limited his options so much.
That's it.
That's all he did.
Yeah, and for me, I don't know. In some ways, it's like the situations are the same, but they're also very different.
It's
like
not tied is the difference.
Yeah, like last week, game was tied. You were on your 3rd string quarterback who had just got inserted into the game.
Yeah.
He had thrown 2 passes the entire season. You had already had a brutal day with turnovers already.
Yeah.
You have it 1st and goal at the 5-yard line. and you throw an interception with 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go when a field goal takes the lead, and then you can let your defense go win it.
Yeah.
Against Wisconsin, you're down 3. You have the ball at the 26-yard line. You have all 3 timeouts. You have a quarterback who's played pretty good and, most importantly, hasn't turned it over.
Yeah.
And he's scrambled well, too. You could have called pass plays where Chubba can scramble and go make some things happen. And you don't call timeouts and don't give yourself a chance to run more plays to win it. Whatever you want to do with those plays, it's not necessarily about like take some more shots at the end zone. Just why not give yourself more cracks at trying to get the ball further down or in the end zone?
I think that's probably the right thing to do. Like if you're the clock management expert, you always want to give yourself the option if things are going well to keep it going. I just think we are living in a world where we got the scar tissue fresh.
Oh, bad. I mean, it's bad.
And Nick, Matt Rhule, I literally think he thinks his job right now, and he might be right, is like, I can't do what I did last week. And you know what, Nick? He wasn't going to allow that to happen. And I kind of give it to him. I'll kind of back him. Though, like, he got us the points. He got us the 3 and got us the
what's hard is he did, like, you would think we're saying, and then they miss the field goal and Nebraska loses in regulation. No, Alvano comes out, they make the field goal, they go to overtime. But I don't know. And
he made the throw. Chubba made a throw at the end of the game, and he threw it out of bounds where no one else
all
could
the things
catch
we
it.
talked
And
about.
I could like see Matt Rhule basically mouthing that to him, like,
right, dude, throw that motherfucker.
That thing cannot be anywhere but so like that is where his head was, and I understand why, because he just watched his team biff it over and over and over again. And so he wasn't going to let him biff it. He was not going to give Wisconsin, Nick, more than 10 or 20 seconds to work. And I kind of get it. He wanted to get the field goal and say, I'm going to put it on my defense for overtime. And Nick, we won the coin toss.
And still lose. Yeah.
It's everything you can ask for. It actually played out how it was supposed to play out.
Right.
He played it ultra conservative, which some people, when you look back, you might say, but you know what? Like after last week, I get it. I do get it. I wish we could be. I wish we could be aggressive and just use the clock exactly how Peyton Manning would do it, which is like, don't waste a second,
right? And
then he'll milk it when he wants to milk it. We're not there yet. Clearly,
I don't want to be. This is where I think I can have multiple things in my head and believe them, even though they might be hypocritical or run counter to each thought. Like, I don't want to be one of those people that, like, I think it's good if you are a coach or a leader or whoever, when you get new information or you new things happen and you then make decisions based on that maybe like, I thought this last week. Nah, I think this. Yeah. Like, I think that's okay. But at the same time, I don't know. There is this. So I think that, and on that regard, I'm like, okay, you have a guy in Matt Rhule that, like, I think he feels like he learned his lesson last week, all those kinds of things, whatever. And I think that's good. I don't think you want to be necessarily stubborn to a fault, right? But I also feel like, I don't want to try and paint it like I think Matt Rhule should have got up to the podium last week and be like, I screwed up. I don't know what I was thinking. I should not have had Chubba throw it. I'm totally wrong. I'm not saying he necessarily should have said that, but I think how he managed this situation makes me respect how he managed the Maryland situation less. Like, he had a ton of conviction last week in that post-game press conference on his aggressiveness to play, how you play. We play to win. We're always playing to win. He even said things like, I'm paraphrasing here, like, we're never going to win big if we don't play to win. All those kinds of things. Well, if you believe that so much, that's a pretty big turn from you are Mr. Aggressive, we're playing to win. It's a pretty dramatic difference to all of a sudden now you're in not call timeouts, dwindle everything down, and settle for a field goal. But Nick,
let me ask you, here's would be my counter argument. We're a little upset about losing, right? A little upset about the clock management, a little bit. What if Chubba throws an interception? on a bad. This is a bad interception to finish that game out.
Right.
Before we get to overtime. Like on that drive, we don't get the 3.
You're saying when they get down to minute 35 at the 26 or whatever.
They call their timeouts.
And they call the timeouts and Chubba throws a pick.
Chubba throws a pick. I mean, and they take too much of a risk.
Yeah, it's
right?
true. I mean, yeah.
People would lose their freaking mind.
But here's my thing. Here's my point. See, this is where people go like this is the thing that I'm struggling with. Let's go back to Maryland. People think being aggressive or not being aggressive is totally hinged on whether you run or you pass.
No, it's not.
And I disagree with that. That's my only pushback. Last week, we acted like running all 3 downs when you got to 1st and goal at the 5 was playing soft ass shit. Don't even want. You're just, wow, you're that conservative.
Yeah.
Like, no, why? This team's a running team. That's what they do best.
Yeah.
So to me, running 3 times 1st and goal at the 5, I don't know how that's necessarily playing super duper conservative, right? Like we're equating aggression to throwing. So let's fast forward to Wisconsin. I'm not even necessarily sitting here trying to politic for more airing it out to Fedoni or Kemp or Coleman or whoever into the end zone. I'm politicking for using timeouts and giving yourself more opportunities to maybe run it, to maybe try just. So I think that's where we're like, when I say you should have used your timeouts, you should have been more aggressive. I'm not necessarily arguing for more Chubba throwing.
Yeah.
I'm just arguing for more opportunities to try to run a play. And maybe a play could have been a quarterback run or whatever.
Yeah. I think,
does that make sense?
Yeah. I think you're right. Cause you're just saying, give yourself the option to keep going.
Yes.
That's
just
all
give
you're
it
saying.
just, yeah.
And that's right. I think when you look back, that's right. I would say that Matt Rhule in the moment, I think he had saw his defense give up a game-winning drive last week. They kind of were gassed.
Yeah, they were. Yes.
They were kind of gassed. I don't think he wanted Wisconsin to get the ball back.
No. Well, that's why the only thing
there was more of that to that as much as he trusts our defense was tired. They were tired.
Yes.
They've been on the field. We've been 3 and out. You know,
the second half was bad with that.
So we were tired. He wanted that down to like, I think, you know, less than 20, less than 10, you know, he wanted it to be almost nothing. We kick the field goal, get to overtime. I think there was a lot more of that in that decision too. There was some of I can't allow this team to commit a bad turnover here. I got to get these points. I think those were his 2 things. And so that's where I will somewhat back Matt Rhule, even though Nick, the right thing is keep your options open to keep going, right? With the clock management. That's the right way to probably do it. But I can understand the moment he's just going, can't turn it over. I want this game to be to overtime.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, if Chubba throws a pick again at the end of the game,
Nick,
this place is
people that are kind of upset about clock
and I get all that. That's
erupting about Matt Rhule messing up, letting Chubba Purdy
I'm not going to be
picks.
disingenuous and act like I wouldn't have turned on the mic probably and been like, man, didn't learn your lesson, da-da-da-da-da. Right. I get all that, but too. I just know there's also something to like to hell with just remove all of the noise, zoom out. Was last week handled well at the end of the game? Yes or no?
Was it handled well?
Was it managed well?
No, I thought no. I was thinking don't just
throw. Yeah,
I just think run it, kick the field. That's
and for me, and you, I feel like you might be like was the final 2 minutes of regulation last night handled well from a clock management?
Not clock management. No, I think from a just like
you're dealing with your
the
team
field goal
and
the site. It was okay because we got the field goal and we got to overtime.
Yes.
So it wasn't terrible, but the clock management portion could have been better.
Yes, I'm even his answer in the post game was a little like wishy-washy, and I thought it was even in the post game he brought up. He's like, "Well, last week I threw it," and everybody, but I also don't like. Wow, so are you? I mean, I also don't love my head coach.
Nick, he's being honest. You know why? Some people say we don't worry about. We do these things, and we always. And you know what, Nick? People do actually. They learn their lesson, or they go, God, the fans are right.
I get as a leader, you always got to project
you got to project confidence. But
even if you know you're wrong, you probably need to be like, yeah, well, I'd do it again. I would, all those sorts of things. But
I think that's the human factor that we try to pretend like we have. These are the rules, and we do our rules no matter what the human factor is. It's like, I think that's easy to say until you realize, like, we can't afford to throw another interception.
It just felt
like that's where they were. They couldn't afford to do that.
But I don't know.
Isn't that weird to say?
Yes, I know, but it's weird
to play that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
It sucks to have to play that way, but I can understand you got to play that way.
I was very nervous at the end of the Maryland game. Like, oh my God, don't throw an interception. Don't throw an interception.
You were less so here?
I was less so. I just feel like I'm not saying I wasn't I'm not saying I was 100% confident in Chubba, but it's the feeling I had wasn't like, be careful, be careful, be careful.
I think the difference for me is this. I've seen it. Like I saw the end of the Washington, who'd they play? Oregon State.
Okay.
And Michael Penix, the
QB,
it was 3rd and 8 yards, and they need one more first down to win the game, and they're up 6 or something, and they do 4 wide on one side, and they have one guy singled up, and he's this like big stud receiver. They run like a stop fade, and the guy catches it, game's over. And it was like the confidence that quarterback had throwing to that guy. We don't have one of those guys right now.
Yeah.
One of those receivers that you're just like, you know what's safe? This guy on an island, you just throw it up. Something like that where it's really, really hard to guard him one-on-one. And there's certain throws you can make that are safe throws.
Yeah.
Only he can catch it. And he's pretty good at catching it. Like we don't really have anybody to do that with. Fidoni's not, people think he's got the body for it.
Yeah.
But he's not really that guy right now.
Not right now.
And so we got Billy Kemp's our go-to.
Right.
Coleman and Lloyd are young dudes. They're not ready for those type of moments. They're not there yet. But we don't really have that guy. So now you have to we threw it to Billy Kemp again, back of the end zone.
Right. It's
He's
like,
short. He's a short guy. Like, I don't know. Like it was very that's when I get I don't feel great because we don't have that guy. Blackledge said, hey, you got Fidoni. I'd look to Fidoni here. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's right. Because Fidoni's tall. He's a big target. It's a safer throw usually.
Yeah.
And so other than Fidoni, every throw is a little because we just don't have our guy yet.
Yeah. I think one of the things that's hard in defense of Rhule and Satterfield in these late game moments, it's the old Nick Saban line that is true in basketball and in football. I've used it on broadcast too, of when the game's on the line, don't think plays, think players.
Yeah. And
you tell me, who on Nebraska's offense right now is just get the you got to find a way to get the ball to that guy.
Nobody in Wisconsin. Actually, they had number 6, and they had Braylon
Allen,
and Braylon, and he I call him Braylon Hurd.
Braylon Allen.
And he was injured, but still, he's such a good player that even when he's gimpy, he sees the holes. Maker. He's a big kid. He's going to get in the end zone. He got that last push.
Right.
And number 6, they went to him 12 times.
Yeah.
And every third down, he's going to make the catch, right? It's not about plays. It's about players. That's their guy.
Right.
They can count on.
And that's what makes it hard at the end of games, because you go, well, who do you go to?
We don't have that guy.
Honestly, last night, you know what when I talk about, I would have loved to see more cracks at more timeouts, more time to see if you could have run Chubba. That would have been my, it's what they did on 3rd and 2. They had Fidoni pulling, Kemp in motion, and they ran the 3rd and 2. Kind of was like a zone read, but a design quarterback run for him to get 6 yards. To me, I'm I just let's go run that play again. So you see what happens. Yeah. Let's go see
the more. That's where if you are gonna say the play calling, it's because you want the more options to keep trying.
That's all. I'm not necessarily because when we talk about being more aggressive, we like I said, we automatically go into oh, you want to throw. I'm not necessarily, but I'm more so probably thinking what I probably wanted was I wanted to see what it looked like if Chubba got 2 more runs. Yeah. Just see what happens.
Yeah.
Tell Chubba, hang on to the ball.
Don't take a sack.
Let's run you twice. Let's do a QB draw. Let's do and let's see what happens. Yeah. And you know what? You might have ended up back in that exact same spot, and Alvano's kicking the field goal. Same thing. So But you're right, because I did write that down where Nebraska still lacks real difference makers at the skill spots, and they're good.
That's probably the argument for Rhule,
saying
even though his play clock management was not good. The argument, if you're going to back Rhule, is to go, we don't got the horses right now just to hand it to or just to throw it to, and so like it's more understandable to see the way he handled it.
Yeah, I mean, because like we talked about Braylon Allen, his numbers weren't even that good, like. But he's just a difference. Like he's not Melvin Gordon or Adrian Peterson, but Braylon Allen is so much better than any running back Nebraska's had since Amir Abdullah. Like way better. And it's just like we're doing this thing with Emmett Johnson, where it's the whole Colin Cowherd, there's sports bar hot, then there's club hot.
Yeah.
We're like, guys, Emmett Johnson's fine. Okay. He's fine. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay. Calm down.
Yeah.
He's fine. He's fine.
Yeah.
You think like Iowa this week? You think their D coordinator, you think they're turning on the film going like, fuck, man. This Emmett Johnson guy. But Braylon Allen's a guy you got to account for.
Yeah. God,
he looked like a fucking tank out there, didn't he? I mean, he is a mammoth human being.
Yeah.
A mammoth human being. So I don't know. And because I also wrote this down of like, and it's hard because as we've talked it out, like you've talked me off the ledge with how last night was managed at the end of the game. I still didn't like it.
It wasn't good.
It still just wasn't handled well. And I think I'll say it again. I wanted to see just more plays. And I think I wanted to see Chubba run it. I think I wanted to see I think you could have gotten 2 more plays. Maybe even just 1 more. I don't know, depending on how you call the timeouts, whatever. And I would have liked to see what would happen if just like, let's see what Chubba, maybe he could have scored it in there. I don't know. Yeah. But
I mean, here's the thing. In the end, they got the points. They get to overtime.
But here's the problem too with overtime. Did you feel like Nebraska's going to win in overtime?
No,
I did not either. Like, so I also kind of felt like, thinking about being honest with how I felt in the moment, there was a part of me that's like, you got to win it here because you ain't winning in overtime.
But see, that's such a bad
mindset
of where our team is, because that's kind of how I felt too.
I was like, when it was going to OT, even when the toss, Reimer calls tails, they win the toss. I was like, no, this ain't happening. I just didn't feel it. And I don't, speaking of OT, this is, John Bishop tweeted this out. And I mean, since 2016, Nebraska's 0-7 in overtime. 0 for their last 7. And this is John Bishop's last 7 overtimes. Nebraska's run 24 plays. They've gained 4 yards. They have 0 first downs and 0 points. Let me repeat that. 7 overtimes. 7. 24 plays run. They've gained 4 yards. They haven't even gotten a first down, and they haven't scored a point.
Okay, so Nick, would you mind?
Yeah, do you want to go?
Send me that text.
Yes, you want to? I have
think
it.
That plays right into this.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, okay. So we got to get into the late game clutch moments in 1-score games. Before we do that, let's talk about. We'll do that on the other side here. Got to talk about Onyx Automotive, because they are the best of Omaha, #1 luxury car dealer. They are the sponsor of the Game Recap Pod, and let me tell you, you got to support those that support us. They have jumped on board with supporting the game recaps, and you need to do the same with them. If you're looking to live that luxurious lifestyle, you do so in style at Onyx Automotive. They got Jaguar, Land Rover, BMW, bunch of industry-leading brands, and so much more. They got an awesome location in Omaha right there on 150th and Dodge. You absolutely can't miss it. Just go check them out online, onyxautomotive.com, and you can really browse the website and get a good sense of what's available, new and pre-owned vehicles, all the different makes and models. You get tons of different photos, tons of good information on it, and you are going to be treated like a king when you go out there. In fact, every purchase of a vehicle comes with a very nice bottle of wine that we have drank before. It is absolutely delicious. So go to onyxautomotive.com, onyxautomotive.com, or check them out at 150th and Dodge. Drive Onyx, the new standard. And we're brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors. Just had a ton of work done to my home and having gone through the entire process, start to finish, started in that showroom in Omaha and all the way to the finished product of a new front door, new bay window. It's really cool to go through the whole process. And, sometimes putting a new window, new door on your home, you don't even know where to begin. The showroom's a good place to start. You can get a really good feel for all the different options. And it's nice to be able to actually feel a window, feel a door, open it, close it to give you a better sense of what you're going to be installing into your home. And Pella couldn't have made the whole process easier. Debbie, with the in-home consultation, she was able to sit down with me and my wife, and she went through all our options, everything we were looking for, colors, style, this, that, and she was able to get us exactly what we wanted. And the Pella experts came in. They were in and out in about a day. And it was incredible to watch them install it. And every time I pull into my driveway, I'm like, damn, that looks good. Damn, that front door looks good. Damn, that bay window looks good. So check out Pella, PellaOmaha.com. That's PellaOmaha.com. Okay, Bo. I knew when I sent that to you, I'm like, we got to talk about this. Nebraska in these late game moments here, 1-score games. So Stu Manji on Twitter, who always kind of deep dives numbers and tweets things out. This is staggering to look at and read. So obviously Nebraska last 6 years, what are they? 29-1 in 1-score games, I think now, whatever it is. But Stu Manji's tweet is kind of like an Excel spreadsheet. And it is looking at Nebraska's final offensive possessions from 2018 to 2023, last night at Wisconsin, when the game is either tied or Nebraska is losing by 1 score. Mm-hmm. There are 27 games where this has happened. Looking at 27 games, 30 drives. Nebraska has only scored 3 times, and they've only won 1 time. So 27 games, 30 drives, 3 scores, 10 turnovers, 9 different quarterbacks, 4 games went to overtime, 1 win.
27 games, 1 win.
1.
Down or tied.
Scores either tied or they're down by 1 score. They've had 27 games.
1 win.
1.
That tells a lot of the story of the last handful of years. That's terrible. I mean, that's almost means that we can't win in the clutch.
Right.
It is telling the story of Nebraska not having clutch players and clutch coaching. It's clutch players and clutch coaching. It's something in the fabric of what we're doing and the players that we got that just, it's clear, are not clutch. Right. Like I don't think that Mordecai is a great player at all, but like he made clutch plays last night.
Yeah.
I'll give him that. Right. And I don't know that I've seen that out of us. Like
it's insane.
And what you find is it becomes like a habit almost. Like those good quarterbacks, they always do it. It's like you give Aaron Rodgers, you give
Brady, you give Mahomes,
They just do it every time. Like I would love to see their record in those type of games.
Yeah.
Like are they 80%? Like it's like they win 80% of those games, probably.
Right.
And we win less than 5. I mean, 2 or 3%. So that's one win out of
27 games.
So that's almost less than 5%.
Yeah. 1 win out of 27 games.
That's so bad. And I was thinking about, you sent it
0.03%.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about that, since you sent it today, and I'm going, well, what's the reason? Why are we specifically so bad in the clutch? And it's hard. It's a hard one to answer. I don't know that I got an answer. I think, well, do we not practice the 2-minute drills enough? Do we just not have clutch players? What is the thing that makes you not clutch? And I don't know. I have no answer. Zero answer for why we are 1-26 in the last 6 years.
I think the answer is that lame answer of it's everything. It's all of it. It's not one thing. Like it's not saying that Nebraska's quarterbacks have been great, but you're looking at for this sample size, you're looking at Adrian Martinez, you're looking at Noah Vedral, you're looking at Casey Thompson, You're looking at Heinrich Harburg. Probably now Chubba Purdy.
What's his name? From the Colorado bunch, Andrew Bunch. Noah Vedral, Smothers.
Logan Smothers.
And Chubba.
So I'm not saying that's necessarily the greatest list of quarterbacks of all time, but I mean, you got some guys in there that are capable. I would think.
Yeah, I mean, Martinez is the part. It's hard to.
A lot of this is Adrian Martinez.
It's a lot of Martinez.
Yeah, I mean, because 2023, it's a lot of those 27 games. The vast majority of them are quarterbacked by Adrian Martinez. But I don't necessarily feel like you brought this up too about linemen being clutch. I feel like in those spots, when I picture these spots, I picture here a snapback Martinez, and I'm picturing the pocket fucking collapsing immediately.
Yeah.
Like immediately.
It does. It absolutely does. It's not just the quarterback. Like nobody's been great. Nobody makes the play, right? I mean, no Amir Abdullah is coming in and just like, I'll just win this game, McNeese State. Right. Sorry.
Or a Westerkamp.
Yeah.
Like, I'll get open and I'll make it happen.
I'll make the catch.
Like, yeah, just I'll beat my guy and I'll get to the spot and I'll get the first down.
Yeah, there's
none of that.
And then there's like the non-clutch play, your stat about overtimes, 7 overtimes, 4 yards, no first downs. Like that's a team effort, right? Like it means you can't run the ball.
Yeah.
You can't run it. So the lineman can't block it. The running backs can't shake a tackler. The coaches can't scheme them up. I mean, what else is there to say? Like you can't get a first down in 7 overtime.
But I wish sometimes stats are just like staggering to look at and you wish you could have a takeaway. Like, because I did the same thing. I looked at it, I'm like, okay, well, why? And it's everything. I think a lot of games have been managed poorly.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them have been quarterbacked poorly. A lot of them have been offensive line blocked and protected poorly. I look at the stable of weapons, and a lot of them just probably aren't good enough. Like
you're not good enough to rise up in the moment. Like the moment, that's the time that like the playmakers. Okay, now it's time, right? Not the plays, it's the players.
Yeah, like who are those guys in those spots?
If we don't got those guys, which we haven't had, like then those moments don't happen.
Yeah, because like
the big time players, they do make those plays
right
when it counts. And if you don't got those guys, that's when it counts. Nobody's making the play then.
Because at running back, I mean, you're talking about there's a little bit of Wandale in there. There's a little bit of
the one game we won was because of Wandale.
Because of Wandale. Like, and he's probably the most capable in that spot running. But like, what is it? Dedrick Mills. There's some Ramir Johnson in there. There's now some Emmett Johnson and Anthony Grant in there. I mean, basically,
I think nobody in that group, which they're, pretty good players here and there, but like
nobody's
an elite. Nobody's a next level guy who's like, just give him the rock, right? We don't have a just give him the rock because that simplifies everything.
Right.
You don't have to be the greatest play caller. And you just got to do simple things and just get him the ball.
Right. So it's all encompassing. I don't think, you don't want to absolve that hasn't been some coaching, malpractice in those moments. There probably has been. I know there has been, but we've talked all the time about like the top end talent. Like Amir just won the McNeese State game. Just won it. Just like, guess what? This is going to be Tecmo Bowl. I'm going to be Bo Jackson, and I'm literally going to just run through everybody, and I'm going to go win the game. How about that? That okay?
Yeah.
Or I'm Randy Gregory, and I'm just going to go sack the quarterback for like 2 straight plays here. There's nobody. Nebraska doesn't have a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
And that becomes evident because that's last night. It just was. Again, even though it wasn't like Braylon Allen had the most amazing game ever, but I just was like, I found myself afraid of him.
A gimpy Braylon Allen and with 4th and 1, I'm like, oh man, get it.
And I just don't know who on Nebraska's team you're like, oh boy, oh man. Who
kind of seemed like Chubba running was like,
that's right. Yeah, I think I probably was, but it's staggering to look at that.
I still go back to the turnover chart, and those charts I think are the 2 best things you can look at for Nebraska in the last, decade or 2 and just go like something along those charts is telling a crazy, crazy, crazy story. And it's hard to find the exact like like root cause of it, and everybody's trying to. But those two things we need. Like, if you're going to look at anything, you got to look at those two things probably.
Right.
It's in there. It's in there because it's staggering.
It's easy to talk about the quarterbacks and stuff like that, but I think one of the things that is amazing, and Nebraska is always probably going to have a hard time getting Marvin Harrison Jr. and all this time. I mean, they had Trey Palmer for a year, but Trey Palmer isn't necessarily good in a 2-minute drill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's more, because it's hard to just go like, all right, 2 minutes left. Trey's going to run a seam and just run past everybody, But I think the thing that, like, Nebraska's inability to find a difference-making running back Amir Abdullah was done in 2014. It's 2023, dude.
Yeah.
Nebraska has been so average at running back for a decade.
Yeah.
Just guys. Just a bunch of guys that are just,
Yeah.
They're okay. They're, and don't think plays, think players. I think there's a little bit to that. But I will say, there has always been this thought for me when Nebraska's made a coaching change that, like, that next coach will be good at managing ends of games. Like, I thought that with, like, Bo left, here comes Rhule. Then the 3rd and 7 call at Illinois happens in 2015. You're like, oh my God, okay, here comes Frost. Now Frost he'll figure it out. Oh, he was bad. And then I thought Rhule, like, he's good. This guy, he's been at Temple, he's been at Baylor, he's been in the NFL. Like, he's going to be awesome. The one thing, Nebraska's not going to lose games because, man, at the end of the games, he's going to press a lot of the right buttons and at least manage things well. And so far, I would say the jury's really out on how he's managed things at the end of games.
I think what's hard for Rhule is, like, his quarterback situation it's so dire. They're like, I have sympathy for him that I go, man, it's like, you don't got a lot of options to work with.
You know what's hard? Where are you at and this has been a theme throughout the year. And then I want to talk about the defense for a second and then we'll wrap it up. But you know what's hard is the injuries to the offense make this season really hard to judge. But I don't want to live in a world where we just use that and just kind of go have that be a big blanket that just covers up everything. It's like, well, they were all injured, so whatever. I don't want to say injuries don't matter, but I also don't want to live in a world where, like, we just throw our hands up and go, well, this year, what do you expect with all the injuries? Like, I'm not phrasing that right, but do you understand what I'm getting at? Where, like, I'm having a hard time.
You don't know how to evaluate Matt Rhule.
I will admit that the injuries make it hard to evaluate this year with Matt Rhule. I will admit that, obviously. But I also don't want to not evaluate him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be like, it's a weird situation where I think, does Rhule get to live in a scenario where, because of the injuries, it's like we can only be impressed with him and we can't be unimpressed with him? Because right now I feel like anything that goes south, you go, look, the injuries. What do you expect? It's like, well, I hear you, but I've also seen a lot of games that Nebraska could have won.
Yeah, it's
does that make sense?
Yeah. I guess
I don't know where I fall on it because you literally could be like, Nick, they lost Mr. First Down, Marcus Washington, they lost Garcia Castaneda. They thought they're going to have Eric Gilbert. He doesn't get eligible, and then he breaks into the vape shop or whatever. Like, you lose your top 2 running backs. You lose Billy Kemp for a large stretch. Sims has been a train wreck. Harburg has to start a bunch of games. Like, now Chubba, it's like, what do you expect? And it's like, I hear you, and I agree with all that.
But still, you got to coach.
Yeah, I guess I'm like, so what is this? Should we just not play the games?
No, what? Here's what I'd say is, like, I think it is hard to value him because the offense is so bad. But like, I think Matt Rhule, if you're looking at this team, have they regressed or have they improved? And in some ways, I think they've improved.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the defense is looking nice. Improvement from last year. The special teams, for the most part, have been better. No catastrophes this year. Right?
For the most part, yeah.
No.
By the way, do you think that guy could have blocked the punt?
Yes,
Why didn't he
fly out?
Oh, okay. Sorry, but
That's a good. So to me, this is maybe when you're not in it, like when you've done too much practicing drills and you're not like playing the game, like when you're gaming it, you're taking it off the foot. When you've been out of the game too much, you forget if you're in practice and you can touch it or not. And you get like,
well, it's almost like that struck me as like you're watching National Geographic and it's like an adolescent lion and it gets to a gazelle and it kind of doesn't know. Like,
does Baron Miles get that punt? Yes, Nick. Baron Miles gets it.
Yes.
Because Baron Miles goes down at the ball.
Right.
And then, he pulled up and pulled his hands. I mean, he was thinking about don't rough.
Right.
Like it's just a mindset.
Yeah, but
it's a mindset that punt. I mean, Nick, that's an unblocked.
He comes untouched. But so continue with it, like, because I agree. Like in some ways, Nebraska has improved.
The offense has regressed because it's been such atrocious
quarterback
play
and injuries.
So I think you can only take it for what it is, and that's what it is. So here's where Matt Rhule gets the pass. He does get a little bit of a pass on this offensive performance. You go, all right, Matt, like this is terrible, but I know that a lot of this is out of your control. Now, Nick, next year, he doesn't get that because he has a full extra year to bring in guys that can do this with the portal. This is his second year recruiting. We don't expect this next year.
Right.
You do kind of get that first year.
Yeah, you go, okay.
But like, you know what? Like a lot of injuries. We just couldn't get a guy in the portal. Like, sorry, that's not an excuse this year. So I do think that's your first year. Sims was your guy, but like, damn, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to understand.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily wanting to like bring Matt Rhule into the principal's office and just find reasons to like scold him. But I don't know. Maybe other guys haven't felt like this. Is I've just kind of like absorbed the season and I've walked around and I've thought about stuff and we do these pods. Like I'm like in between. It's like when you yell at your like kid and they're like I'll yell at like my 3-year-old and I'll be like, I mean, he's 3. So you go like,
this is Matt Rhule. He's not 3. This is Matt.
I know,
Rhule.
but I'm just saying, like, you go, well, there's those moments where you'll yell and you'll be upset about something. And then you go, well, okay, what did I realistically expect given the situation?
Yeah.
And I think I keep doing that too with Matt Rhule. I'm like, well, okay, I'll be upset with something. And then I'm like, well, what do you expect with the quarterback and the injuries and those kinds of things?
With the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm just having a hard time with how, because I don't love this world of just like, injuries, whatever.
Season's over.
Or like, because there's been injuries and because it's been bad quarterbacking, you cannot. There's nothing you can do you can't be critical of Matt Rhule, or you can't be disappointed with X or Y or Z.
Here's how I see it. I see it as this year is what it is. It's his first year. It hasn't been good in offense. It's been pretty good in defense. The schedule has been really easy, and it's unfortunate we didn't win more games because of that, because he's going to find out next year it's going to be way harder to win. And so, Nick, I think next year we'll learn a lot more about Matt Rhule because the schedule is going to be much harder, and he'll have more guys that will be his guys, more of a more
year 2 of his culture and his
And so I would preach patience now.
Oh, I am too.
Because next year, I don't think people are going to be that patient anyway for Matt Rhule. And so he's going to sort of like have to show this is what we're going to be, So, and that might be too soon, but I think that would be the reason I'd say to be patient, because next year will sort of like, I think the real deal is going to start showing next year.
Yeah. I'm just having a hard time, and I'm venting with you being my therapist here, and for everybody watching on YouTube and listening on the pod, of like, it's like you want to be patient, but it's been quite a drought here for Nebraska, generally speaking, for good football and winning football and getting to a bowl game and all those kinds of things. You understand and acknowledge injuries and all those things, but you also feel like I've watched moments where I'm like, that doesn't look well coached, or that doesn't look well managed, or whatever. And yeah, and I like you just laid out. I think the hard thing to also always take into consideration is this schedule and these teams. That's as bad as Wisconsin's ever been. Ever. I've like since they've been in the Big Ten, that's the worst I've ever seen Wisconsin.
Yeah.
This is as bad as the Big Ten West, and the Big Ten West has been a rim shot joke for people for a long time.
Minnesota is down.
Like
Minnesota's not good. Colorado hasn't been able to win.
No, Colorado's not good. Again, like this schedule, in my lifetime, I don't think I've seen a schedule that the competition is worse. Outside of Michigan.
It's a missed opportunity. We should be sitting at 7 wins right now.
Yes.
Easily
so
7
then
wins.
There's that. And it's like, then that gets you frustrated. Then you don't want to but then you're like the injuries. And then I'm trying to make sense of all these different thoughts that are kind of like battling within themselves. And now Nebraska, here comes Iowa, Black Friday, for an opportunity to get to a bowl game, and we'll see what happens. Real quick with anything with the defense, I will say, it's too bad because man, the stop Phelan Sanford's hit.
Oh wow,
was just like, dog. If I ever meet you. Like that, I have, certain things happen. You're like, I respect that guy forever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like moved by that play.
What a hit. What a hit.
Like almost got emotional. Like you talk about that is football.
It was a knee buckler.
I mean,
like an old school knee buckle, like hit, and they both the running back's knees buckled right on the spot.
It was apparently I'm Nat Geo today. I mean, it was 2 Rams,
yeah.
Boom. And I just am like, man, you can't tell me he doesn't want it.
Yeah.
You can't tell me he doesn't. He walk on from Hastings
College.
Stuck his nose in there and stood him up.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I ever meet Phelan Sanford, I'm going to just be like, dog, your hit in the 4th quarter. I forever salute you for that. And then Omar Brown tackles on the 4th down. Yep. Like, man, this defensive time. Sure that, it was unfortunate they were gassed and Braylon Allen pushes the pile. They pushed the pile in there. In overtime, the overtime was, here are the plays in overtime. 1st and 10, Braylon Allen gets stuffed. 2nd and 10, Braylon Allen gets stuffed. 3rd and 8.
This is where you got to win.
3rd and 8. These are these moments we talk about clutch too. We want to focus on the offense. Like these are moments where the defense has to come through too. Mm-hmm. Great pass protection. The quarterback finds time, buys time. The pass rush doesn't get him. 3rd and 8, they convert. Yeah. 1st and 10 at the 14, they run a swing to wide receiver, no gain. 2nd and 10, pass rush by Henrich. This is when Henrich comes. Another Henrich blows Braylon Allen up. Quarterback has to throw it away. 3rd and 10. Quarterback draw. He gets slippery. He gets 9 yards. Gifford has that probably touchdown saving tackle to get it to 4th and 1. Braylon Allen, 4th and 1. 4th and 1. Gets it. And now it's 1st and goal at the 3. Here comes Braylon Allen. They push the pile for 3 yards, and it's 24-17. So it's just, I don't know. The defense, it's hard to ever criticize the defense right now.
They've been good enough all year that, it's in the same way like they didn't have a great game for them. I just felt like they weren't as good.
The last 2 games just haven't been quite as, Michigan State, Maryland. I don't know if they're getting tired. They've still been pretty good.
They've been good, but yeah, it's like when you're only scoring 14, 17 points, it's hard to win. It's hard to win.
It is really, really hard. But so the defense had moments where they kind of, I don't know, tempo hurt them, tackling's gotten not quite as sharp as it's been.
I think their issue seems to be more like they seem to tackle running backs well. They seem to tackle receivers well. They have a really hard time closing in on quarterbacks.
Yeah, which is odd.
It's almost like when it comes to the quarterbacks, the D line and they've missed on blitzes like these. a couple of weeks in a row there, it's like the quarterback's like when you're in the shower and
the bar of soap.
The bar of soap's just like they just get the quarterbacks are slippery to them.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they can't just like break down, grab a hold of the guy and get him down.
Yeah.
And that's too bad. I think our defensive ends and some of our blitzing linebackers and DBs, they can't close these guys. And it's too bad. I mean, I think Hutmaker and Ty Robinson are both playing well right now. And so like, gosh, it's just too bad. Like when those guys are playing good, we should be able to stone anybody pretty much. If everybody else needs to I know. When you get a chance to make the play, you got to make the play.
If you would have told me Nebraska's going to get up 14-0 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And Nebraska's basically going to have no turnovers until the last turn.
Which is, I don't even think it was that bad of a throw.
You got to throw it.
And hit his guy, touched it too.
Right.
So I always think if your receiver, I think your dad said this, if you can touch the ball, you can caught.
Yeah.
And I always kind of thought about that too. Whenever I think of a receiver gets a hand on it, you should be able to get it.
That's the Rich Baugh philosophy.
Yeah.
That's the Fremont Flyer philosophy right here.
Hey.
That's Rich Baugh for you.
Right.
If you can touch it, you can catch it. But yeah, if you'd have told me they were going to get up 14-0 and they weren't going to turn the ball over, that was the recipe. The recipe for this team with this offense is if they can do that for you, then they can turn to just running the ball and we win with defense and special teams. And they kind of did that. They didn't run it great, but they got you the lead. Yeah.
And the defense needed to close. And that after that 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 in the first half that we got stoned on, the defense had that was their worst drive that they could have kind of let it go, and they let it go.
They did. So I don't know, Phelan Sanford right now, there's certain guys like, so-and-so is never going to have to buy a drink in that town again. Phelan Sanford for at least a month now until maybe people will forget about that play. I was like, God damn, is that like,
that's stick of the year probably right now.
I just was like, that is incredible.
That's hit of the year. I think that's hit of the year for Nebraska.
I just love sports like when you're just dudes that are willing to really lay their body on the line for stuff and really like, whether it's a loose ball, it's a rebound, it's something
Nick,
like
are you having flashbacks to my dad yelling at you?
A little bit. Basically, Phelan Sanford was who
Tom Ruud wanted you to be.
I wanted Tom Ruud.
Tom, I wanted to be that for you.
I should send that to Tom and be like, Tom, this was who I wanted to be for you.
I wanted to be this. I wanted to be
that man for you. I couldn't be Phelan Sanford. I would have been.
My dad just wanted you to fill the hole.
Nick, fill the run. So people don't know Tom Ruud was our midget football coach growing up, and I was our free safety. And let's just say I was not too interested in filling the run.
There was a lot of interceptions that needed to be made, though.
So I would, and that's what I would tell. That'd be my only comeback to your dad. Be like, hey, listen, if they throw it, I got it. I'm going to intercept it.
Yeah.
I might not stick my nose in there like Phelan Sanford.
I think they got it up front. The front seven's got
Bo's got it. He's got it under control up there. I got it if things really go haywire deep. I took C21 to like the umpteenth degree. But yeah, I was like 25 yards off the ball and would start on a back pedal. It was not good. So there you go. Minute 12 or an hour 12. Anything else from the game? Todd Blackledge had a nice night.
Nope.
Another
Nebraska loss, but
pretty crazy.
The Chubba era,
chatter.
The Chubba chatter is turned into the Chubba era. Now the question is I obviously think he'll be starting next week.
Has to.
How
much does he factor into next year?
What is Chubba in the future? Because I didn't think Chubba was even considered in the future until this last week, and now you're going, they're still going to go get another quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
But Chubba, do we see a future that Chubba is actually a good player? Like, do you see him taking like the next level of like, this guy wins a lot of games here? Or is it too early to tell?
I'd say it's too early to tell on that. Let me phrase I'll throw a different question at you.
Yeah.
You can go to dinner and a movie with Heine. And by dinner and a movie, I mean, you are like, you're buying stock in Heine in the future at the quarterback spot.
Yeah.
With his, 7 games, how many he started. Or a limited sample size of the new Chubba.
New Chubba?
This is new.
This is just released out, the new Chubba?
Chubba. There's new Chubba.
So Chubba 2.0 is out? Oh, I can't wait
Same Chubba flavor, 0 calories.
Oh, that's it.
That's the new Chubba.
Yeah.
It's new Chubba.
New Chubba.
So you can have new Chubba and buy stock in new Chubba, or you got a lot of sample
size. Tell me more about
of,
this new Chubba.
Well,
I think I'm going to buy stock in new Chubba.
But seriously, I mean, you have a big sample size of Heine, who's got a breathtaking Heine.
Heine's got the Heine.
He's got the Heine going.
About the Heine.
But you got this tiny little sample of the new Chubba. You walked through the grocery store.
Nick, everybody's talking about
They said,
new
here's
Chubba.
a sample to have a new Chubba. You're like, oh, man, we should get that. That was good.
This is Chubba? You're telling me this is Chubba? You're like, yeah, but no calories. What?
I can't believe it's not Chubba.
I can't believe it's not Chubba.
So, do you want butter?
If I have to,
I can't believe it's not Chubba. You can have straight up margarine, which is Heine, or you can also get. I can't believe it's not Chubba. What are you purchasing?
Okay, if I have to buy stuff, because I mean, the other option is like transfer portal, and that's where we don't have that option. So the option
just
is
take it away
Heine
the
or
portal.
Chubba. I think what I saw out of Chubba, I'm gonna go with. I can't believe it's not Chubba.
I can't believe that I have decades, relatively speaking, of Heine here. We got like 7-8 games out of Heine. You know what it is.
We've seen old Chubba. We just haven't like new Chubba.
I can't believe it's not Chubba.
Yeah.
Oh man, I think I'm with you. And I don't know if we're prisoners of the moment, but like what I saw in one game, I saw more potential out of him in one game.
It just looked like, even when he took his he planted and went, I was like, just take it. Like, I feel like
he had that one option where it was like perfect.
It feels like we always miss on our runs because we're too slow.
Right.
And I'm like, it seems like the first guy that's like hitting things.
And the ball came out of his hands quick. It was pretty accurate. There wasn't any throw that was, I mean, things were relatively accurate.
I mean, he basically won a whole game and didn't turn over, which is like, okay, that's a small sample size, but it's at Wisconsin. He made the run. He made the throw to Lloyd. Like he ran it. Like he ran so well that I'm like, well, it sort of negates anything that I thought Heine and Sims did better than him.
Let me be clear. I think you said too. I'm still, if I can have Heine, or I can't believe it's not Chubba, or go to the transfer portal. I can't believe it's not Chubba.
I can't believe it's not Chubba.
I want to live in a world where I go through Hy-Vee and I see in a tub, I can't believe it's not Chubba, and it's just a picture of Chubba holding a football. But I can't believe it's not Chubba, Heine, or what's behind door number 2 in the portal. I'm going what's behind door number 2.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it is pretty sad where our bar is so low. It's like he scored 17 points and didn't turn it over for the most part. And we were like, will you marry me?
And he lost.
He lost. The offense scored 17 points, but he didn't turn it over for pretty much the entirety of the game. And at this point, we are ready to get down on one knee.
Yeah,
marry him.
It is a little bit low. We've got 2 losses with, but you know what? Like, it is like just such a depleted offense. But I think it's time for us to.
Do we need to wrap it up so we can go? Let's go to Hy-Vee and see if they got some. I can't believe it's not Chubba.
I think it's
Let's go. We're gonna go.
A Herd at Sports Network production.